Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching the Breakfast Show. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about the U.S. elections, which kicks off on Tuesday. And we have two main candidates, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And to shed more light on the elections today, we are joined over the phone by Ambassador Ayman Mosharafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning to the audience.
Sir, Tuesday sees millions of Americans heading to ballot boxes to decide whether Kamala Harris should receive a promotion from Vice President to President, or if Donald Trump should be handed a second term in office. How will Americans choose their next president? So, unfortunately, there is a technical problem, and as we said earlier, that Tuesday marks the beginning of U.S. elections. The race for the White House has come to an end, with U.S. presidential elections formally kicking off on Tuesday. While there is no clear favorite to win, there are several critical factors that will drive voters' decisions on Elections Day. Yes, Ambassador Ayman?
Yes, the American system is very complicated system. I will explain it briefly. It is not one man, one vote. It is an electoral college of 538 delegates representing 50 states. And who is getting 270 delegates will win the election. And it coincides with the presidential election to election of 34 congressmen, which represent the third of the Congress, and some governors too, and around 45 members of the lower house in the United States. So it's a critical election both sides. We have opposite two candidates, as we said. Donald Trump representing the Republican Party and Kamala Harris. Usually there are strongholds of each candidate which are in the South, for instance, for Donald Trump, around the 24 states, which represent the sunlight belt, as I say, and in the north you have Democratic strongholds like the state of New York, California, and others. But most of the polls show that it is neck-to-neck competition, and there are also still 7 dangling states, which is not decided yet, or which are the polls are not very clear. One of them is Michigan, which has a big Arab component, and Pennsylvania. And historically, Pennsylvania was always the key of winning in any presidential election. So, I mean, the voting started to, and it started by the state of Kentucky, and it will end by the state of Alaska and Hawaii, which would be the last closing the poll station to close.
So also, Ambassador Ayman, if we talk about the major states that will have a more impact on the elections, what are these states?
Of course, in the American politics, you have the big five. I mean, New York, California, Texas, Hawaii, those are the 4 big states. Yes. And you have the 7 dangling states. One of them is Georgia, and another 3 which represented 95%, which represents 95 votes of the electoral college. So it is not in the latest election, for instance, Hillary Clinton got more votes on the system of one-man vote, but still she lost the election because some big mega states, the delegates voted in favor of Donald Trump. So winning the American election, it needs to win more delegates, that's more votes. That's the problem of the American election, of the specific nature of the American election, which differs from other democratic elections in the world.
Do you expect any change in the American foreign policy after the elections?
You know, towards the Middle East, the two candidates were very clearly supporting Israel. Even of the Arabs were discontented with the policy of Kamala Harris because actually he didn't spell out his position towards the atrocity and the war of Israel regarding Gaza. He didn't condemn the Israeli aggression. And very late, both candidates started to flirt with the Arab voters, especially in the state of Michigan, because in the state of Michigan you have more than 400,000 Arab voters. And the state of Michigan is very, very important. It has 16 electoral votes in the electoral college. So it will be a mega state. Winning election or losing the election for each candidate. The Arabs, usually they are voting Democrat. Most of the visible minority, the Arabs, the Latin, the black community are voting for the Democrats for many, many reasons, like respect rights, civic rights, equal rights, and some other issues like immigration, which is a very important in the propaganda of candidates. But there are numerous thoughts that the Arab community in Michigan, they will have a pattern of definitive vote and they will vote for Donald Trump. So it could be a heavy blow to the Harris.
So ahead of the voting, day, some opinion polls showed that Trump was leading predictions, especially in all 7 swing states, while other opinions polls showed Harris was leading the race. How do you read this fluctuation?
The margin of error is 1%. I mean, it's neck to neck. You could not really predict, and the American voters sometimes had a very unpredictable mood. I mean, they could at the end of the day change pattern of vote at the first minute. So if you have a dangling or vote in some states, you cannot really predict the outcome of the vote.
So, sir, also, what happens after the U.S. race is decided? Will the president-elect form a transition team to plan for the transfer of power?
Usually, the results of the election would be roughly declared on unknown after 48 hours of the closing of the polls, usually, but it's according to the American Constitution, it's declared officially in the 6th of January, and a new president would sworn in the 20th of January. But due to the nature of this election, especially, you would have a lot of contesting and legal cases about wrongdoing and about falsification and about wrong counting. So it will take days, my opinion, to have a clear vote, especially for the dangling states, the 7 dangling states, which is neck-to-neck competition, and each vote would maybe will tip the balance from Harris to Trump. And already Donald Trump is accusing the Democratic candidate in some states of falsification the results. So you would have really a very rough, difficult campaign from the legal aspect, from the vote aspect.
So, sir, fears grow in Europe that Trump may win the presidential race. Why does Europe fear the Americans could choose the former U.S. president to be their next head of state?
Well, Trump won the war in Ukraine. Yes. He spelled it out, and historically had a good relationship with Putin. So he doesn't want the war to be extended and to extend for 2 more years, since there is not a clear way. And so most of you fear that the Americans will drop out of the war and leave the only lifeline, supply weaponry and financial support to the government. Yes. I think that Donald Trump wants to end, especially this Cold War, and want to end the Ukrainian crisis. And he said, I want to prevent a third world war or any collision with Russia.
How do you expect ties of the United States with the world superpowers such as Russia and China in the coming stage, and the impacts of such relations on the international community at large?
Of course, the relation with China, it will be strained a little bit, because Donald Trump, he is an entrepreneur, and he cares a lot about the revival of the American industry, the American competition with China, gaining new markets. I think the relation with China will not be very smooth. It will have up and down, and Donald Trump will go for maybe establishing some action or trade barriers against China. With Russia, there is no economic competition with Russia, because the size of the is not so big like China. So you will have maybe a political and political competition, which could be settled through bilateral negotiation, political one. So the competition will be less fierce from Russia.
So concerning Egypt, which enjoys strategic relations with the U.S., how will Egyptian-U.S. ties materialize and shape in case of Trump or Harris winning the U.S. presidential race?
Well, the Egyptian-American relations, regardless which administration is elected, but on the other side, Republican, we have a very close relation and strategic relation with the United States, based on mutual interest in preserving the balance. The Americans value very much the Egyptian weight in the Middle East. And Egypt is surrounded by a number of crises. Gaza in the east, Libya in the west, Sudan in the north, and they are trying to keep the tension and try to find the truth. And especially the geographic position of Egypt regarding the flyover of the American Military, the passage to the canal. So we have a common interest and a strategic interest to have this close relation with all American.
So, Ambassador Ayman, if Donald Trump is elected once again as U.S. President, do you expect him to decrease current U.S. international obligations such as wars in Ukraine and the Middle East and concentrate on U.S. domestic affairs as he raises the slogan of America First?
Of course, the Trump campaign is based on local issues like job creation, like immigration, like the economy, like education. he will have less interest in issues of foreign policy, which is costing the American taxpayer a lot of money. He would try to improve the American economy and to ensure the American economy in the field of economy to boost the American exports and the American efficiency in economic.
Also, Ambassador Ayman, if we talk about a new map, do you think that a new map will be drawn for the whole world after American people make their say and decide today who will lead their country?
What do you mean by maps exactly?
A new map or a new strategy will be drawn for the whole world after they choose the president, or they will maintain the same strategy they always abide with?
You know, I will tell you something. The American foreign policy has static strategy, like, for instance, the Middle East towards the state of Israel. Since the founding of Israel, the United States didn't change her policy against upholding and arming and upholding Israel's supremacy. So this issue is static. But mainly the American president will try to find solutions, a comprehensive solution for the Middle East crisis, since solving the issue of Gaza, not the Hamas issue. It is like the Egypt policy always was to push for a foundation of a Palestinian state based on 337 and 242 resolution, which will end the tension in the Middle East. The only way is to have a viable Palestinian state, and to end this Palestinian issue, which was a burning issue in the last 7 decades, and which have hampered the normalization of the Arab-Israeli relations, and still no normalization with the state of Israel, like many has spelled it out, without having a two-state solution.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Ambassador Ayman Mosharafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for being with us, and the viewers show break, and we'll be back, so stay tuned.